Hello there, strength to all Rwandans as we commemorate the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, and a very warm welcome to our tonight's edition. This is what is coming up.
The President of the Senate, Dr. Kalinda Francois-Xavier, points out that bad politics of hatred and the genocide ideology will never be back in Rwanda, because even those with the purpose of bringing it back will be defeated, because Rwandans will never tolerate such acts.
The international community was today reminded that the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda was planned and was incited by hate speeches, hence a lesson to the world in preventing hate speeches elsewhere. A great evening to you, and thanks for keeping us company on Rwanda Television News tonight. My name is Sam Kalisa.
And mine, Martina Awera.
How are you, Martina?
I'm very okay. How are you doing today?
Very, very great.
Yes. So as we kick off our bulletin tonight, the President of the Senate, Dr. Kalinda Francois-Xavier, points out that bad politics of hatred and the genocide ideology will never be back in Rwanda, because even those with the purpose of bringing it back will be defeated, because Rwandans will never tolerate such acts. We have this story courtesy of Olive Nete.
At the Rebero Genocide Memorial in Kigali City, that is where the week dedicated to commemoration activities was concluded at the national level. Particularly, it was concluded but by also paying tribute to politicians who were killed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi due to how they chose to abstain to the evil plan of the former government who prepared and implemented the genocide against the Tutsi. The President of the Senate, Dr. Kalinda Francois-Xavier, also emphasized that the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi was not an accident.
Jenoside ntabwo yari gushoboka itarateguwe n'ubutegetsi ndetse n'abanyapolitiki.
The genocide would have not been carried out if it was not planned by the government and politicians. It wouldn't be possible because they are the ones who implemented it. The truth about the history of our country and the bad politics that led Rwanda since the colonials and the former First and Second Republic led it to the genocide perpetrated against Tutsi in 1994. We all know that.
Bukarugeza ku ndunduro ya jenoside yakorewe abatutsi mu 1994 birazwi.
According to Dr. Bizimana Jean Damascene, the Minister of National Unity and Civic Engagement, the tragedy that happened to Rwanda was a result of bad politics that was based on discriminations of the First and Second Republic, and that is why politicians who disagreed with their evil plan should be remembered.
Sixbert Musangamfura wakoze ubushakashatsi ku ishyaka rya MDR Parmehutu.
Sixbert Musangamfura, who carried out a research on the political party of MDR Parmehutu, revealed that on the day of announcing the establishment of this party, the president of this party, Gregoire Kayibanda, announced its guideline and said that its establishment is to give back the Hutus their country, and he said it in the following words: "This party will be concerned with Hutus' benefits. We have to be the light of the population, and we should give back the country to who it belongs to. The country is for Hutus. This is a great tragedy to see the establishment of a political party which is based on the discriminations, which was also viewed on its name, and the agenda followed that. When Habyarimana became the president, instead of carrying out political changes that were needed at that time, he continued to follow the same path. Those who fought against their plan and were even killed should be honored, and we should learn from that and build a united Rwanda."
Tugomba guhora tubaha icyubahiro kibakwiye kandi tukavanamo isomo ryo kubaka u Rwanda rwa twese.
The families of politicians who were killed appreciate the fact that their loved ones are honored, as pointed out by Kavaruganda Julien, the son of Kavaruganda Joseph, who served as the president of the Rwanda's Constitutional Court. Honorable Mukamana Elizabeth, the spokesperson of the National Consultative Forum of Political Organization, points out that there are various measures that have been taken by this organization to prevent the tragedy that happened to the country of having bad politicians to reoccur again.
Kugira ngo ibyo dukora mu rwego rwa politike bizarambe, ihuriro n'imitwe ya politike irigize.
For what we do in politics to be sustainable, the organization and the political parties that entails it We vow to prepare the youth, which are members of these political parties, because they are the leaders of today and the future. We teach them good politics, which is based on democratic principles of respecting human rights, following laws, advising each other, flexibility, solving problems through dialogues, to promote the political profession, and also to always look out for the benefits of all Rwandans.
Guteza imbere umwuga wa politike no gushaka iteka icyagirira abanyarwanda bose akamaro.
On this point, the President of the Senate emphasized that bad politics will never be part of Rwanda again.
Kwibuka twiyubaka bivuze kubwira abagerageza kugarura politiki mbi.
Remember and renewing means that we are telling those who are trying to bring the bad politics of hate and the genocide ideology that as Rwandans we chose that we never tolerate those who will give astray with our choices of working together in building a Rwanda that we want, which is suitable for us. And those who are trying to think about it, we won't allow them to do so, and we will defeat them completely.
14,000 victims, including 12 politicians who were killed during the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, are buried in the Rebero Genocide Memorial. Olive Nete, RTV News.
The international community was reminded that the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda was planned and was incited by hate speeches. Hence a lesson to the world in preventing hate speeches among different populations around the world. So the remarks were made on a Thursday at the United Nations offices in Geneva, Switzerland, as they commemorated the genocide against the Tutsi that was carried out in 1994. Prince Panzi.
The ceremony commenced with the wreath-laying at the Memorial Stele at Place des Nations. The Director General of the United Nations Office at Geneva, Tatiana Valovaya, demonstrated that the genocide against the Tutsi was planned and incited by hate speeches.
The mass killings in Rwanda did not arise from nowhere. The genocide was triggered by a state-orchestrated hate speech which incited the Hutu majority to kill their fellow Tutsi citizens. The lessons of Rwanda are particularly relevant nowadays, as we are witnessing an unprecedented rise in hate speech, which polarizes societies in many parts of the world. I hope that this story, alongside with the testimonies of other genocide survivors, will give us strength to speak up loudly and clearly against discrimination and intolerance. This is the only way to ensure that what happened in Rwanda is never repeated anywhere ever again.
Marie-Chantal Rwakazina, the permanent representative of Rwanda to the United Nations Office and other international organizations at Geneva, states that it is regrettable that after 39 years, there are still countries hosting genocide perpetrators.
Regrettably, 29 years since 1994, a number of genocide fugitives still live freely in some countries. We see this as condoning their genocidal acts. This kind of complicity, indifference, and promotion of a culture of impunity must stop. The survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi need justice today, as they needed it 29 years ago.
The genocide against the Tutsi was implemented in the eyes of the international community, and yet evidences were there demonstrating that what is happening is genocide. This is why Ambassador Marie-Chantal Rwakazina reiterated that the international community failed to learn from Rwanda, as currently there are still obvious acts of genocide.
In many places around the world, we still see situations that may erupt into a genocide if no action is taken timely. For example, the prevalence of armed groups, including the genocidal FDLR in the eastern DRC, which still spread genocide ideology and causes insecurity not only in Rwanda, but also to the region, should be very concerning to all of us. The Special Advisor to the UN Secretary General on the Prevention of Genocide has described the current violence in Eastern DRC as a warning sign. It is obvious that somewhere people are still being targeted based on who they are. As we reflect on the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, we may ask ourselves this question. After 29 years, is the international community about to fail again to uphold the promise of never again?
On Thursday, Rwandans in Canada commemorated the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. The ambassador of Rwanda to Canada, Prosper Higiro, states that even in the 29th year, the commemoration is a continual reminder and warning to the humanity to ensure that the genocide is not forgotten and never happen again. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince Manzi, for that report. And now, not moving far, Rwandan diaspora knows that the world should start to implement laws that punish those who committed the crimes of the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. Adam Squizera has more.
Various Rwandans living abroad shows that there is a positive step that has been taken by the world in understanding the true meaning of genocide against the Tutsi.
The genocide effects, the genocide preparation, how it was prepared internally by Rwandans themselves, even if there were some influences from abroad. It's a challenge that I can say people don't know how to call what happened to Rwanda. The title itself, people don't know how to say it and don't know how to differentiate. So many people can just say Rwandan genocide against the people of Rwanda, so they don't know the correct title. That is the only challenge.
However, some of the countries have taken steps to provide justice and prosecute the perpetrators of the genocide against the Tutsi, while there are still others which are still delaying justice process. As Ibuka of France and Belgium points out that now the world should start to take responsibility in providing justice to the survivors of the 1994 genocide against Tutsi.
Currently, things are changing, though the justice is delaying. But the good thing is that they are not sitting idle, as we requested the president to not ever tolerate those perpetrators who were insulting us. We also urged him to provide advocacy in courts by speeding the trials.
The Ibuka organization says that although there is still an issue of genocide ideology in some countries in the world, but there are other countries that have also took steps by apologizing and admitting their role in the genocide against Tutsi. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams. Moving ahead, the Anti-Genocide Parliamentary Forum, AGPF, calls on all Rwandans to keep comforting survivors of the genocide against the Tutsi during the 100 days of commemorating one of the worst atrocities to ever happen against humanity in the world. We have more.
The vice president of this committee, Nirere Marie-Thérèse, points out that although all genocide survivors have various challenges as the result of the effects of the genocide, there are specific categories that need more attention than others. Elderly people who are currently living in villages called Impinganzima. We as the forum, we usually carry out activities in these 100 days. We find a day and visit those elderly people who live in those various villages, and this really makes them happy. And once, they even requested us to come with our children, as they still see them as their grandchildren. Both chambers of the parliament are responsible for preventing the genocide and oversees government activities in dealing with the effects of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Most of these activities are reflected in the program of the Senate, which has a special responsibility of monitoring the application of fundamental principles and also to eradicate discriminations and prioritizing the unity of Rwandans. On the other hand, the Chamber of Deputies, which has a Committee on Unity and Human Rights and also fighting against genocide, has among its responsibilities to follow up on the effects of the genocide against the Tutsi and search for solutions. The president of this committee, Honorable Nyirahirwa Veneranda, points out that some of the programs of the Rwandan government to help genocide survivors are being carried out well, while other programs still have challenges, as it was revealed in the analysis carried out by this committee. The Ministry of Justice has been asked about the reason why some of the cases that have been tried through Gacaca courts are not yet completed, and Minayok was asked about why the resolution that was urging the Ruhango district to resolve the problem of the genocide memorial of Kinazi, which was water ingressed, not implemented yet. only 14 districts are the only ones who wrote history about the genocide against the Tutsi, and that question was asked to Minubumwe. The commission also found that the genocide ideology is still found due to parents who still distort history. The Anti-Genocide Parliamentary Forum states that it will continue to be close to the survivors of the genocide, including regular visits to the elderly survivors, locally known as Inhwaza, who lost all their loved ones in the genocide, and also to advocate for the elderly who are unable to take care of their families, and to monitor compliance of all laws and measures aimed at well-being of those affected by the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. Olive Nete, RTV News.
Thank you, Oli, for that report. Now, more on a positive note, in Nyamasheke district, Western province, there is a survivor of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi named Vestine Mukamuyoboke, who had kidney failure and was donated a kidney by Desire Ugabanumba, who was not targeted in the genocide. Residents say that this is a great example of unity and reconciliation. Adam Kwizera has the report.
This is the testimony of Vestine Mukamuyoboke, who survived the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. She demonstrates that after losing her beloved in genocide, her life became difficult.
Manza kurwara, ntangira kurwara cyane muri 2016. Umwaka wose nari ndwaye.
I later got sick, and in 2016, I had anemia. And when I went to the King Faisal Hospital, I was lacking funds, and it was almost impossible to get on a bike.
Currently, Mukamuyoboke is strong and safe after being given kidney by her neighbor. Desire Ugabanumba, who provided the kidney, is currently the executive secretary of Mutongo Cell, where they all reside. He states that he provided this kidney as he was saddened by the life Mukamuyoboke lived in.
I took
this decision after thoroughly thinking on it for 2 weeks and had to analyze the way to approach this woman. The residents appreciated his devotion as expressed by his father, Gatete Gracie. It's an act that teaches Rwandans, especially here in Hanika, and it's an act that testifies the development of unity and reconciliation in our country. Currently, there are 588 unity and reconciliation groups in Nyamasheke district, while there are 180 groups in schools and 9 groups in each parish.
On Thursday, employees and administrations of 7 companies operating at the Kigali International Airport, together with the families of airport workers who were killed during the genocide against the Tutsi, met at the Kigali Genocide Memorial to remember genocide victims. Jessica Gasaro.
Mourners visited and laid wreath to pay respect to more than 250,000 victims of the genocide against the Tutsi. One of the survivors, Umuhoza Vanessa, who was 9 years old during the genocide, is currently an employee of RwandaTV. She said that in Zaza, where they lived, the Tutsi began to be persecuted and killed in the 1990s, which became more severe in 1994.
Papa tubona aragarutse muri urwo rugo arazatubwira ngo mumpereze ikoti ryanjye bamuhereza ikoti.
Then my dad came back to that house and asked for his jacket. When he was going back, he met a group of attackers who were our neighbors, and they killed him. They put him where the rest of my family that was killed was kept. I don't have enough word to thank Inkotanyi for what happened. But if the Inkotanyi didn't come to rescue us, all of us will be dead.
The
interim chief executive officer of Aviation Travel and Logistics Holding, ATL, a holding company established with the mission of managing aviation-related activities, Jules Ndenga, expressed condolences to the families of those who lost their lives in the genocide against the Tutsi. He reiterated that the commemoration of the genocide against the Tutsi is everyone's responsibility. The Minister of State in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Patricie Uwase, urged Rwandans to build confidence in the future and to participate in fighting genocide ideology.
Aya mateka twese tuzi yabacu abacu batari imibare. It's not just about numbers.
We all know the history of our own people. They are not just numbers. There are more than 1 million victims who died in 100 days. However, these people had names, had lives. Anyone holding a light right now, the light of hope must not be dimmed. And everyone must fight anyone who tries to deny our history and what we have been through. Ibuka declares that preserving the memory builds and heals the heart of the genocide survivors and teaches them a lesson to ensure that genocide will not happen anywhere else in the world. Jessica Agasaro, RTV News.
Right, and from this, Martina, we come to the end of our tonight's edition.
Yes, we would like to thank everyone for being with us during this edition. Now, as we conclude the week-long commemoration period, we would like to remind everyone that we are still in the 100 days of commemorating the genocide against the Tutsi, and would like to ask that we remain vigilant and respectful.
Absolutely, and also it's a very sensitive and heartful period, I could say. So very much strength to the survivors of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, and to all of us as the Rwandan community, let's keep comforting them and staying close to them.
Yes, have a great night.
Bye.